Hey guys, so I want to make a video on a few tips on getting your motor started in the spring if you're having a couple issues. This thing usually starts right up. I already had it running a couple weeks ago. This is towards the end of March, going into April, so it'll be April time this video's up. And what usually happens, most people will leave their gas in the tank, and unless you have a fuel valve in line, when you shut that off and you run your carburetor dry, then in the spring you just open it up and you get gas. It'll start right up every time just about. What will sometimes happen is the gas will gum up or gel up in the emulsion tube and in the jet. It just pretty much blocks the fuel flow. On motors that have a choke, which this one, the choke it activates all the way up like that, it'll usually force the fuel through the emulsion tube and clear itself out if it was gummed up, just from the extra vacuum from the choke. But if your motor doesn't have a choke, which just about all ride motors do, that's when you can usually start having issues. So if your motor was running good in the fall, the last time you mowed, chances are, as long as you keep your motor inside, you're not going to have no issues and it should start right up. Now if you keep the motor outside, you're risking getting water in the fuel, and you could damage any electrical components as well. So this video primarily applies to your motor that's been properly stored inside, out of the weather. And also another tip, as I've mentioned in previous videos, is if your mower is not stored in a heated room, like a heated garage in the wintertime, take your battery out, and they fit perfect in the large metal ammo cases if you see me use in other videos. So just take it in your house and set it and get it out about December or January and charge it. And that really prolongs the life of batteries in these. It used to be, if you leave your battery in your motor, you'll get about probably 2 or 3 years out of it. But I've got 4, 5, and 6 years out of batteries, take them inside and keep them charged. So I'm not going to start this. It'll start right up because I already tested it. But if you choke it and you crank it over and it's not wanting to start, usually the choke will clear itself out, but sometimes you need just a little extra boost. So you want to take your air filter loose like this and just spray a little bit of carburetor cleaner or starting fluid, whatever you got on hand. Or if you don't have either one of them, just take like a little cup, like a paint cap, like off a spray can of paint, fill up just a little bit of gas and pour like half a teaspoon down in the carburetor, and it'll start up and run on that and keep your choke on. And usually that little extra vacuum from it actually running will help clear it out. If it don't, your worst case scenario is you're going to have to clean the carburetor. And I've got several videos on cleaning carburetors on various different engines. That's your worst case scenario. Also, before you even start, I should have said this first, be sure to check your oil, because you never know if, maybe the last time you mowed you had an oil leak and you lost most of your oil, or obviously if you see a puddle of oil under it, you're going to want to check that and see what your problem is too. But always keep an eye on your oil level. I got another video called Springtime Mower Maintenance. It talks about sharpening blades, greasing everything, and changing oil and all that kind of stuff. If you got a whole lot of grass to cut, you really want to pay attention to how many hours you're putting on your engine in between oil changes. This mower here is not used very much at all. Not that much grass here, probably about a ½ acre, I believe. I only get an oil change about every 2 years on this since we've been here at this house. You see the oil's still pretty clean. That's all last summer on it too. So not much need in changing it every year when it's still fairly clean. Now at the old garage, the old mowers you see in my older videos, I change them every year because there's a lot more property there to keep mowed. So they get a lot more hours on them. Alright, so now let's go look at a push mower and a weed eater. It's basically the same thing you'd have to do. But we'll look at one anyway, give you a couple ideas on what you might have to do. Old grass is definitely coming up though. Starting to fill in already. Oh, you get these wild onions coming in everywhere this time of year. So this is the push mower I got that I use, and you've seen in a couple of previous videos. I use this in spots where I can't get the ride mower in, and it's an older flathead style Briggs. And this has got the primer bulb like this. As long as you got enough gas in there, these will usually pick up. You can hear the fuel spraying in there. and it'll take off and run. But sometimes you have to do it 2 or 3 times. Sometimes you got to do it 2 or 3 different times. Prime it and start it, and if it don't take off, sometimes it takes a little bit for the gas to fill up the other reservoir in there if it was ran dry or something. And if it keeps acting up, or if you do this and it's not pumping fuel, spray your carburetor cleaner. Take this off. Be a hole opening here in the carburetor. Spray the carburetor cleaner or starting fluid, or pour a little gas in there. When you pour gas, you got to be careful. It don't take very much at all. And start up and let it run like that. And on these, if you got somebody to help you, a lot of times you can just put your hand over it, like after it starts, and that'll choke it and force it to clean itself out, and it'll take off after that. These have a diaphragm in here that pump the fuel. A lot of times they'll just need replaced. They're not that hard to do. I got videos on that as well. If you have the newer style current production Briggs, it's similar to this. It's got there's variants on these. This one has a primer bulb. Some of them have an automatic choke. It's got the plastic carburetor on it. These are kind of usually hard to start in the spring sometimes. You get plenty of gas in it. These are gravity fed to a float type carburetor. So sometimes with these you'd be more apt to get the emulsion tube and jet clogged up from the gas gelling up if it's been sitting for a while. And again, if it ran good in the fall, it should start right up in the spring. Sometimes it just takes a little extra work to get them to start. But on these, you prime them and it'll start and should take right off. If it starts and dies, just do that a few times, and if it still don't take off, or if it's not priming and it's not hitting at all, try to spray some carburetor cleaner through it and keep it running on it, or starting fluid, whatever you got. With these, you can't really pour gas in it. This one don't even have the filter, but you can take the filter and just kind of pour gas over the filter a little bit, and put it back on, and the fumes will take off on the fumes. And if you do that and it still just starts and stops, then you're probably going to have to take the carburetor off and clean it, or replace the carburetor, whatever you want to do. Also, if it's not starting, this applies to for the older engine too. If it's not hitting at all or trying to run at all, you might want to check for spark. Make sure you got fire. It could be a bad spark plug or coil, or the switch could be stuck or broke, or your cable's not working back here to do the blade brake release. It could be a number of things. So you just got to check a few things out on it. But like I said, if your mower ran in the fall, generally speaking, it shouldn't be too hard to start in the spring. But if you left it outside, you're subject to getting water in it, and water will end up in the carburetor every time. It'll be hard to start. If you get a real old push mower engine, similar to this, but has the older pointy condensers from like the 80s or 90s, from like the 80s when they quit making them, you have to keep those inside. Like they always get water on it, on the points, and you got to pull the flywheel and everything to get to it to fix that, to get the spark back. So always try to keep mowers and stuff inside, or at least covered up with a tarp, nothing else. But you're just asking for problems if it's outside. I know not everybody's got a place to keep stuff, so always just, you can get a real cheap tarp to throw over, or whatever you got to do. And you also want to check your oil too. You never know when it needs topped off, so it's just a good time to check it. So that push mower you seen was the same one I used in the video of mowing snow a couple years ago. So the same thing applies to even a weed eater. You just want to make sure you prime it up. Sometimes just prime a little extra, it gets the fuel going through the carburetor. And these have a diaphragm pump, so sometimes it can be a little bit problematic to start. Usually if it don't start within 10 pulls, then I don't like using starting fluid or even carburetor cleaner on 2-cycle engines, because there's no oil getting to the cylinder and piston and rings. So if you do that, just do it like once or twice, and if it don't take off, then try something else, or just pour gas in it until it takes off. Mixed gas that's got oil in it, it's best. So I'm not going to start this right now. I'll start it off camera just to make sure it's alright. Again, you want to choke it and just keep pulling it, and sometimes you may want to pull the throttle just to open it up a little bit. If it's a type that like a steel, when you do that and it kicks the choke off, then skip that step, because it'll automatically open the throttle up when you choke it, so you don't have to do that. Sometimes on these it just needs a little extra That actually increases the vacuum when the throttle's open. Lets more airflow through the carburetor. So yeah, it's just a few things to watch out for. And again, you want to check for spark and everything on the weed eater just to make sure, in case you're having a problem. If it don't hit at all, then check your spark. It could be a foul plug or something. So I kind of want to give you an idea of what might be actually causing the engine not to start or being difficult to start. This is a brand new carburetor for Tecumseh. Not a fan of Tecumseh engines. So this is the bowl type carburetor. This will be full gas. If you look down this tube right here in the middle, this is what picks up the fuel out of the bowl. It'll go in through the carburetor like this and go through the various jets and orifices or whatever you want to call it in the carburetor. And if this is slightly gelled up just from gas sitting in it, that's what makes it difficult to start. So you can spray carburetor cleaner like straight through this, and once you see it start coming out of the body of the carburetor, it'll usually start up, then clear itself out if it needs further cleaning. And you can usually do this without actually taking the carburetor off the engine. Just remember you're going to have gas coming out anytime that float drops, so if you got a fuel shut-off valve, you might want to drop that. Shut it off first. But that's just usually what happens, or it could be dirt floating around in here and it gets in there, so it'd be a good time to check the bowl and clean it out too if you're going to take the carburetor off, or at least apart. Check it out. So on the older carburetors that were on the engine similar to what was in the first one, that ride mower, and a lot of other engines that don't have an adjustment on the bottom like this carburetor does, the nut, or bolt rather, that screws into this is actually the jet. That's where the fuel goes through, and they're bad about clogging up for some reason. So you can take like a wire from a wire brush and clean it like this, and through the top, it's like a T-shaped opening in there. A lot of times that's all they'll need. But if you already got a part, spray up through the emulsion tube and nozzle as well, just to help clear that out. And this type can gum up too. So you see how it's got these little holes and stuff in here? You just want to be able to make sure you get carburetor cleaner or compressed air through all those openings as well. And it should take right off. And a lot of times the engine might run a little rough after this, and it'll clear itself out after running, just from the vacuum of the engine forcing clean fuel through it. Alright guys, so I've just been wanting to make a video like this for a while. I thought this was a good time of the year to do that. So questions, comments, or suggestions for similar videos, feel free to leave a comment below, and hopefully this helps you get your mower started this year. So alright guys, thanks for watching. We'll catch you on the next one.